Southwest has now canceled more than 2,000 weekend flights. The disruption is ongoing. People are very angry, and the official statement is that due to weather and air traffic controller disruptions, they've had no choice but to cancel these flights. Now, we did see something similar with Spirit Airlines, and a lot of the mainstream travel pundits, that's the thing. I mean, there are a lot of travel blogs and stuff like that, think that this is due to overwork and understaffing. Now, it is true that many people are leaving their jobs. There's a great resignation. Many people have lost their jobs, completely unrelated to the vaccine mandate. Now, we'll get to that in a minute. And that means there's going to be staffing issues. And that means that with federal restrictions on how much someone can work, eventually the airline says, we're capped out. People got to take time off. They got to take vacations. They got to take days off. And now we can't do these flights. We don't have enough people. The labor shortage is easy to understand. It's obvious. It's in our faces. And we've seen it all throughout the past year. The harder thing to confirm is the speculation around a pilot strike or potential air traffic controller strike over vaccine mandates. That seems to be the big rumor. And we do have some posts online from people who say they're pilots with Southwest and that there is a soft strike. Now, they can't formally declare a strike due to how their contracts are structured, but they're doing mass sick outs. I don't have any hard confirmation. However, journalist Alex Berenson says that he has talked to a Southwest pilot who provided their credentials, who said, yeah, basically it's a sick out. That may be the case. It seems that we're getting an inverse narrative from the likes of the more establishment players over at CNN. What they're basically saying is that, well, look, there's a vaccine mandate for the pilots. And of course, after you get the vaccine, you can't fly for 24 to 48 hours. So perhaps what's really happening is, as Southwest has just mandated the vaccine, the pilots are actually just going and getting them. They're not on strike. They got the vaccine and now they're grounded for a couple days. So the flights should resume, right? I suppose we'll see. There are posts over at, say, patriots.win, which is the big Donald Trump community, where one man says that he is a pilot and they are rejecting this and they've been rejecting this. And the pilots are saying no. Other posts that are circulating around claim to show people who say, look, pilots are former military and they're not going to accept this. That may be the case. There are a lot of people in the military who are absolutely refusing the vaccine mandate, but overwhelmingly, the news reports that people are just accepting it. Now, is that the narrative? I was watching local news the other day. We were all sitting down. There was an episode of Family Guy on last night. And then Family Guy ends and it goes to local Fox 5. And on the news, they said that, you know, flights are being canceled. It has nothing to do. They didn't mention at all pilots or strike. They said flights were canceled due to weather and air traffic control issues. The FAA issued a statement saying there is no pilot shortage. And I was just like, wait a minute. Nobody said pilot shortage, or I'm sorry, air traffic controller shortage, something like that. They brought up shortages, and then I was just like, did anyone bring that up in this news report? They didn't. Here's what I'm thinking. We're at the point. So I tweeted out this video from V for Vendetta. Do you remember that scene in V for Vendetta? If you haven't seen it, you got to watch V for Vendetta right now. I mean, I'm not even kidding. Seriously, V for Vendetta. It's about a despotic government where a virus manufactured by a bunch of powerful elites is used, and then they make the pharmaceutical company, a pharmaceutical company produces, a vaccine or cure or whatever. All of these high-ranking individuals all have invested in it. Now they're all top party members in control of the government. You should check it out. Well, there's this scene where Chancellor Sutler, the despot, says, "I want them to remember why they need us." And then it shows all of these news reports where they're like, civil war in the former United States continues to destroy the Middle East. And they're like, a new pathogen has emerged. And they're showing all these news reports. And I'm reminded of that watching this news clip where they're like, flights were canceled due to weather. And then I'm like, oh, let me just check the radar here. So I checked the radar and there's nothing on this map. Look. There's some weather. There's inclement weather over Kansas. Looks like we might have some kind of spiral formation. I can't tell you much about it. I'm not a meteorologist. I don't know. Is there a tornado there or something? Maybe. Whatever. The point is, yeah, we've got some storms. Looks like Houston, just South Texas and Louisiana, and then maybe coming up to Chicago and Dubuque might be dealing with some storms, but it doesn't look like the apocalypse. I don't see why that would result in 2,000 canceled flights. But hey, far be it from me to understand how any of this stuff works. What I can say is there are certainly people saying that this is people rejecting the vaccine mandates, but I cannot independently confirm that. I can say, if the news came out that thousands of pilots walked from their jobs, did a sick out, and were refusing the mandate, that would be really, really bad for the establishment agenda. Joe Biden says he wants, 98% vaccinated. Right now, the official narrative is polling shows most people are vaccinated. Most people are fine with vaccines, and that the vaccine mandates are rejected by only a fringe minority. And that's the surprising thing. I saw a poll today. Actually, this is from Matthew Iglesias, one of the founders of Vox.com, the left-wing website. And he said that Twitter is, far left individuals who are 98% further left, or 98% further left, or something like this, than the average voter, yelling at people who are 75% to the left of the average voter that they're, far right or whatever. He's correct. He then posted this image showing Joe Biden is viewed as rather far left, and the ideal candidate is rather centrist. I saw that and it spoke to me because I'm a moderate. I was talking to a guy the other day at a little farm store, and he was like, we're talking about politics, and he's like, it's good to see young conservatives. I'm like, I'm not a conservative. Like, look at me. I'm like liberal, but like how they used to be. I don't look, policy is something different. We need to have a conversation about policy. Like, the easiest way to explain it is universal health care. Hey, people should have health care, but then the government being in control opens the door to ideological distribution of health care, which is kind of scary. So maybe it doesn't work. I don't know. I like the idea of people being able to go to the doctor when they break a bone, not have to worry about it. Or anyway, I digress. The point is, I, as a moderate, assume most people think similar to me. The leftists think the same thing. The right-wingers think the same thing. Everybody thinks the same thing. However, I could be wrong, but I tend to view based on polling, based on what I read. I follow left and right. And maybe actually it's fair to say conservatives do understand this, that most people are kind of moderate. They just think they're wrong. Conservatives follow left and right? Leftists only follow the left. But I look at all these polls, I look at everything, and I'm like, I think you got a lot of conservatives, but a lot of regular Americans probably agree with you or I on a lot of these issues. In which case, how could it be that there is no staunch opposition to the mandates? And then you realize there is. I mean, there was widespread protesting in New York City. They tore down a pop-up testing center for COVID. Perhaps what's really happening is that the mainstream news narrative is just an attempt to convince people that you are the outlier and you better fall in line. Well, if you are an individual of weak will and you get your cues from CNN, okay, well, I hope you come to your senses and find that strong moral footing and mental fortitude. But for, I assume, almost every single person watching this, you already get it. I mean, would you be watching my content if you trusted CNN? Ugh, probably not. But I did pull up CNN.com on purpose to show you what they're saying about what's happening with these pilots. The point is, I don't make moral decisions based on the crowd. Let me tell you a story before I read through this. A very quick one. I was in Venezuela. We were at a protest, a student protest. There's an intersection, and it's all on my Instagram. You can actually, if you go back in time, you'll see it, where a bunch of students are, laughing and talking. And if you walk down the street, you would see barbed wire and garbage and flaming cans and stuff. And then the Venezuelan National Guard, all armed with rifles and handguns. So I'm like, okay, we got our shot. Let's get out of here. So here's the National Guard and here's the protesters. We walked this way. So we decided to move, I think it was to the west of where the intersection was. And then all of a sudden, you don't want to be in the line of fire. You want to know where your exits are. We saw all of this mass crowd of people start screaming and running north. And I thought to myself, why are they all running in the same direction? That's not a good idea. So we ran west and then, took cover to figure out what was going on. I don't know exactly what happened at that point. But the fact remains, a lot of people saw this group run and ran with the crowd. Well, if there was a dude being chased by a boulder that was rolling down a hill, chased, maybe not the right word, and you ran with them, well, then you'd be in the path of danger. If you run away from whatever is going on, you're probably going to be safer. So I'll just put it that way. I think if everybody is panicking and running in one direction, that's not a good enough reason for me to just do it. Mob mentality. Here's what CNN says about the airlines, and then we'll look at some of this data. They say Southwest canceled more than 2,000 weekend flights and the disruption continues. The world's largest low-cost carrier canceled 3 of every 10 departures it has scheduled on Sunday, and the disruption continued into Monday. a federal holiday with 337 flights, about 1 in 10. Happy Columbus Day, everybody. According to the aviation tracking website, FlightAware, the company blamed the cancellation on air traffic control problems and limited staffing in Florida, as well as bad weather. It told CNN late Sunday that getting operations back to normal was more difficult and prolonged because of schedule and staffing reductions made during the pandemic. Quote, "We've continued diligent work throughout the weekend to reset our operation with a focus on getting aircraft and crews repositioned to take care of our customers." In a statement, the FAA said there have been no air traffic related cancellations since Friday. The agency said the airlines are experiencing delays because of aircraft and crews being out of place. Flight delays and cancellations occurred for a few hours Friday afternoon due to widespread severe weather. I guess. Military training and limited staffing in the area of one Jacksonville air route traffic control. Now, interestingly, there were rumors going around that Jacksonville air traffic were going on strike due to vaccine mandates. I don't know if that's true. And I'm wondering why then it didn't affect other airlines. Is it possible that they said we're going to prioritize all existing, all remaining air traffic controllers for other airlines? Maybe. However, other airlines did not appear to be as severely impacted. On Sunday, American Airlines canceled 2% of its flights, and low-budget Spirit Airlines also canceled 2%, according to FlightAware. It's a busy travel weekend as Monday's a federal holiday. Southwest canceled 808 flights on Saturday, stranding thousands of passengers across the country. Mary Corey was set to fly from Oklahoma City to Orlando Sunday morning for a cruise. At 3 a.m., she saw her flight had been canceled and spent more than 8 hours on the phone with customer service. Now, let's dig through this real quick. Other outlets are framing this in a very interesting way. Independent.co.uk says, Southwest Airlines cancels 1,800 flights days after pilot union sued over COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Company blamed problems on disruptive weather and air traffic control issues. It seems that even the Independent is noting the pilots are saying no to the vaccine mandates. The union has filed a lawsuit against the airline. So is it possible that there's actually a strike? I got to say, that actually sounds like the most plausible answer. I can't say it's definitively true. I can just say it sounds more plausible. Severe weather? Excuse me, good sirs, at Southwest, how come other airlines weren't as affected? You mean to tell me that only Southwest was like, oh no, a storm? Perhaps it's only Southwest that cares about their employees and their customer safety. I really don't believe that. I think they'll operate by a standard of if there's weather, there's weather. If there's not, there's not. And if other airlines are saying it's fine. I don't think this is air traffic control related either. Because like I said, you can actually, I think I actually have it here. You can go to the the FAA's website and see that all of the air traffic control, operations or whatever all seem to be fine. Flight delay information, air traffic control system shows general arrival departure delays are 15 minutes or less. It's green. It's normal. So what could be happening, honestly? I don't know for sure. Josh Kaplan, this is on Twitter. He is front page editor at Breitbart, says, Southwest Airlines Pilot Association president, quote, I can say with certainty that there are no work slowdowns or sick outs, either related to the recent mandatory vaccine mandate or otherwise. Okay. Now, this is Breitbart. I mean, do you not trust Breitbart? Okay, maybe you don't, because this is just the Southwest Airlines Pilots Association president. However, that's not the company. That's the union. Of course, we do get this statement then from Alex Berenson, journalist formerly of the New York Times, although many on the left consider him to be an apostate of the establishment order. Says, urgent, a Southwest airline pilot explains why you will not hear anything about vaccine mandates from his union and why Southwest has more flexibility than it admits to stand up to the White House. They say essentially, the union cannot organize or even acknowledge the sick out because doing so would make it an illegal job action. Years ago, Southwest and its pilots had a rough negotiation, and the union would not even let the pilots internally discuss the possibility of working to rule, which would have slowed Southwest to a crawl. But at the moment, the pilots don't even have to talk with each other about what they're doing. The anger internally, not just among pilots, but other Southwest workers, is enormous. The tough prior negotiations notwithstanding, Southwest has a history of decent labor relations, and workers believe the company should stand up for them against the mandate. Telling pilots in particular to comply or face termination has backfired. Now, Alex says the pilot emailed following the first Southwest post and provided his Southwest ID to prove his identity. He asked that I paraphrase the email. I have not seen that. I have not independently confirmed this. If you trust Alex Berenson, by all means. Again, I have not confirmed this, and I try to be very, very careful. I will say, however, over at patriots.win, our good friends, formerly of the Donald, say there's a post here from a user named ClimbSurf. Never complying. Southwest captain here. We are done with the Great Reset. Senior captain for Southwest out of Baltimore. F.U. Gary Kelly. Tim Pool, I know you browse here. Same with you, Tucker Carlson. I will go on the record with the first reporter to contact me. There is a massive strike over vaccine mandates going on right now. I did reach out to the best of my abilities. So far, it's early in the morning. But I will also add, just kind of strange that I'm like, oh, here's someone claiming to be a captain saying they're on strike or whatever. And then they're like, Tim Pool, I know you browse here. And I'm like, reading that's kind of surreal. I'm like, I am currently browsing here. I will talk about this. Yes, absolutely. As we are not that far from Baltimore, I would love to track this individual down, meet with them, and go over everything they have to say. In fact, we could probably do a sit-down interview up here and then put this up on the website, timcast.com, maybe even include it as a special in our IRL episode or something like that. I don't believe the media will do their due diligence in contacting pilots or getting statements. I believe they'll just call people like Alex a conspiracy theorist, and it's as simple as asking, Alex, I would like to independently confirm his story. I'm going to be looking into this, see if I can independently confirm it as well. I absolutely would love to see what's really going on with this. I don't know for sure, but I can show you some really interesting things. This is a tweet from Jason Rabinowitz at Airline Flyer. Really good Twitter username for what he does. He's aviation geek, researching and writing things about airlines, airplanes, transit, and travel. Co-host of Flight Radar 24's Av Talk podcast. This is a guy who is covering travel, and here's what he says. A friend of a friend is stuck in this, and a gate agent lied to passengers, claiming today's delays are because, quote, thousands of pilots are on strike against the vaccine. Get your house in order, Southwest Air. This is some next level BS. Unacceptable. Interesting. So this is a guy who's rejecting the statement. This is a really interestingly crafted tweet. We're going to have to break this one down. First of all, this is apparently hearsay. Unless he actually experienced this, I don't know. He just says that a gate agent lied, claiming it was a strike against the vaccine. Well, how does he know it's a lie? You can see that his bias is against that statement. But he's reporting a gate agent is saying it. I don't care about what his opinion is on it, whether it was a lie or the truth. I'm wondering who this gate agent was that came out and told someone that thousands of pilots are on strike against the vaccine. They are suing over the vaccine mandate. There is reason to believe they can't come out and strike. And this is something people need to understand about unions. I don't know about airlines. I do know that in many places, at the very least, Chicago, for instance, firefighters have a union, but they can't strike. Police have a union, but they can't strike. They can blue flu, where they all call in sick at the same time. So could that be it? Could they be saying there's no sick out? Well, how do you know, right? Imagine this. Imagine, 15% of the staff just call in sick. No, I don't believe that's a sick out. Yeah, they can just say that. Oh, there's no sick out going on. Nothing's happening. Or maybe nothing's really happening. Maybe the reality is that Southwest just has an overworked staff. It happened to Spirit Airlines before. No idea. I think it's fair to point out we're in a labor shortage. I think it's fair to point out we're in a very serious economic crisis. And boy, are things getting worse. I hope you've been paying attention. There's maybe I'll talk about this later, but there's an emergency food supplier called Augustin Farms. They're fantastic, by the way, because you can get beans, potatoes, eggs, milk, all in these big bins that last for like 30 years. And there's a viral image where they're like, we've been disrupted and are going to be shuttering work due to a shortage of raw materials. And on their website, they say they're no longer taking orders. So this it's kind of crazy. I don't know what to believe. I honestly do not. I reached out to this man who claims to be a pilot. Look, I'm going to need some confirmation. Baltimore is very close to where we are. We operate out of the tri-state near Harper's Ferry. So this is like Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia. So if you're in, Eastern Maryland or whatever, you're like an hour away. And we can easily, meet with this individual, go over whatever he has to show us, be it internal communications or anything he wants to say. I don't mean any confidential stuff. I mean like him talking to his buddies. If him and his buddies, want to go on the record and talk about this stuff and then check credentials. And if we get that confirmation, I think that's very, very important. I think a lot of people, you got to be careful of this. They're eager to believe. Okay, I'm not eager to believe anything. I mean, well, to be fair, I am, right? I want to believe that people are standing up and saying no to mandates. I want to believe it. But I am practical, pragmatic. I'm a realist. Show me the evidence. Give me the confirmation. I do not like making judgments without at least some evidence in which I could place a wager. You know what I mean? So there's I'll give you an example, right? 3-card poker. You ever play it? The dealer gives you 3 cards. You look at your hand, and you're trying to get a 3-card poker hand to beat the dealer. Some people do what's called playing blind, where they're given the 3 cards, and they just put it on the line and bet on it. They don't care. They're not going to look at it. Sure is fun, but you can sure lose a lot of extra money doing something like, no, I'll look at the cards. So what I mean to say is, if any wager is to be placed, I need at least a little bit of reason to believe that in the end, there are facts backing up what's being stated. I'll say this. I lean towards believing that there are some issues, not with air traffic control, that I don't know, but with pilots, I do. I don't think we're going to see so many people claiming to be pilots putting out their public information, which these individuals are doing, unless something was really going on. But imagine this. Imagine there's like 7 pilots who all were sick out, yay, and then they, called in sick. Then they see these disruptions and believe something bigger is happening. So really hard to know for sure. What I can say is, I just want you to imagine Joe Biden on this massive screen, and sitting before him is like Kamala Harris and Mark Milley and Merrick Garland. And he's like, I want this on every Interlink channel. I want them to remember why. Well, he wouldn't say it like that. He'd be like, come on, man. I want them to remember why they need us, man. Turning on a shop at a pressure. And then you get all these news reports saying everything is fine. You are happy. Life is fine. There's no shortage of anything. Go back to sleep, America. Here's American Gladiators. Here's 48 channels of it. You guys know that one? Check out that. Yeah. Well, I won't I won't beat the dead horse. You get the point. Some good comedy out there. But I don't know what to believe other than the media's lying, and we need independent confirmation. For them just to come out and be like, we asked the company, which is seriously threatened, whose stock is going down, whether or not they're collapsing due to a worker outage, and they said, no, everything is fine. Yeah. Well, they have to say that, don't they? And then how do you determine whether something is a sick out? This is the game they'll play. Let's say 1,000 people call in sick. Well, there's no evidence of a coordinated effort to call in sick. People are just sick, no sick out, and then they officially announce no sick out. It's a dirty game they play. But, there's some truth in it. How do we know for sure that if everyone's calling in sick, it is a sick out? We don't. So I suppose we'll just have to do some more digging, which I will be doing. But if this is the case, my friends, it is all crumbling faster than we've seen. You need to go, my friends, to timcast.com. And you need to look for actually Google this. Google the beautiful ones. It'll be easier to find it this way because it's an older article. The beautiful ones of Universe 25, Shane Cashman, timcast.com. If that doesn't come up, then you can add this parameter to Google, site:timcast.com. And that'll restrict your search on Google to just timcast.com. Read this one. Oh, no. Yes. This is the one you want to read. And then you want to specifically the passage about I think it's Carl Schlichter, I think it is. I almost said Kurt Schlichter. No, Kurt Schlichter is a guest we've had on the show. The Hope experiments. That's what it is. They put rats in a cylinder with water. They struggled to swim. They couldn't grab on anything, and within 15 minutes they gave up and drowned. Then he put rats in the water. They struggled to swim, and within 15 minutes they began to give up. But then he grabbed them, took them out, dried them off, and let them rest. And then he put them back in. After that, they swam for 60 hours. Why? Hope. So what have we seen? In 2020, we were locked down, riots, hopelessness, destruction, economic collapse. And just when everyone thought hope was gone, they pulled us out, dried us off, and says, go party. Here's some food, the shelves, everything. It's getting back to normal. And then The system is being crushed again, now worse than before. But this time, people will hold out. You see, there's a difference between drowning and being starved out. If in the first instance we were starved out and the economy was collapsing, what do we get? We got mass rioting. What do you think would have happened if it continued? Mad Max. I mean, you think I'm kidding? People would go nuts and they'd be like, no way. I'm not standing up for it. We get riots, revolt. People would demand. But then they gave people hope. They brought things back to normal for a little bit, just a little bit. You don't have to wear a mask anymore if you're vaccinated. Everybody calm down, dry off a little bit, get relaxed. And now you're being dunked back in. Booster shots, put your mask on. Restrictions are coming back. Food shortages, things are getting worse. Now it'll get even worse. But people will hold out hope knowing, well, hold on there, guys. It did get better before. We are living in the hope experiment. And they know. Give people a little taste of a return to normalcy, and they will hold out. 15 minutes to 60 hours is a long time. So I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.